I'm not coming back. I found someone better. Your stuff's in storage. That was the text. Just 3 short lines that shattered 15 years of marriage. It hit my screen at 11:40 p.m. on a Thursday, while I was standing alone in the kitchen of our condo in Springfield. My name's Richard Connolly. I'm 53, staring at my phone in disbelief, the last sip of lukewarm coffee still in my hand. Emily, my wife, was supposed to be on the 4th day of a girl's trip to LA. Instead, she blindsided me with that message and a screenshot of a bank transfer. $120,000 gone, swept clean from our joint savings straight into her personal account. I set the phone down without a word and finished my coffee. Strange how muscle memory takes over, even when your life just broke in half. Looking back, the signs were all over the place. Weekend trips that stretched a little longer each time, clothes she never wore around me, whispered phone calls that would cut off the second I walked in. I caught every one of those little changes. That's what I do. I'm a forensic accountant. Spotting things that don't add up is literally my job. But I kept quiet. Maybe that was the first crack. Or maybe the real mistake was marrying someone who saw my career as nothing more than boring spreadsheets and meaningless numbers. I pulled out my laptop and opened an email account Emily never knew about. I'd kept it around for exactly this kind of situation. Sure enough, there were 3 alerts from my bank's security system. Someone had tried to reset passwords to accounts Emily didn't even know existed. She was being thorough. I had to give her that. I picked up the phone again and typed 2 simple words. Good luck. Then I called my brother Peter. Remember that contingency plan we put together 5 years ago? I asked the second he picked up. It's time. Are you sure? Yeah, I said. She made her move. I ended the call and looked over at the wedding photo still hanging on the wall. It was the last one left with both of us in it. Funny, I should have noticed that too. I met Emily McCarthy at a University of IL Springfield alumni event. I was 38, fresh out of a short, failed first marriage, and completely absorbed in building my forensic accounting practice. Emily was 34, vibrant, driven, and completely uninterested in the work I did. I don't need the details, she'd say whenever I tried to explain a case. As long as you're making enough for us to live well. We tied the knot a year later. I funded her yoga studio with my savings. When she pushed for a bigger home in a flashier neighborhood, I said yes. When she wanted luxury cars and dream vacations, I opened the checkbook without blinking. My dad tried to warn me once. We were working on fixing his deck, and he paused mid-swing with the hammer. Son, he said slowly, I've noticed your wife likes to spend your money. He gave me a look. Just make sure she appreciates what you do to earn it. I laughed it off at the time, but his words stuck with me. About 6 years into the marriage, I quietly started protecting myself. Nothing shady, just smart. I set up 2 LLCs, created a couple of trusts, put money into crypto, and kept offshore accounts for international clients. Emily knew about our joint checking and savings. That was it. Meanwhile, she got deeper into the fitness influencer world. Her Instagram following exploded. She started tagging along with her wellness circle on retreats. First just weekends, then whole weeks at a time. You wouldn't like it, she'd say. It's all yoga and green juice. Last Christmas, she completely forgot my birthday. The day after, she handed me a pricey watch and said she'd just been too tied up with the studio expansion. I took the watch, smiled, and that night, I finished setting up my contingency plan. The clues were all there. I just didn't want to connect them. The morning after her text, I got up early and made coffee, like always. Habits don't care if your marriage just imploded. I logged into the financial system I built for my firm, custom tools that I tailored for personal use too. A few keystrokes, and the contingency Peter and I had created was in motion. I froze our joint accounts and cut off the credit cards. Then I flagged the $120,000 transfer as fraud, pulling strings with my bank contacts to speed up the process. I forwarded everything, proof of misconduct, financial records, to my attorney, along with instructions to start the divorce process right away. Then I picked up the phone and called my mother. Emily left me, I said quietly. She took the money, packed up my stuff while she was supposed to be on vacation. My mom was quiet on the other end of the line. For a second, I thought the call had dropped. Then she said, I'm sorry, Richard. Really? But I can't say I'm surprised. So what now? I didn't hesitate. I do what I've been quietly preparing for all these years, I told her. I protect what's mine. About an hour later, Emily's name lit up my screen. I let the call ring out. She tried again, 10 more times. Finally, a text. What the hell did you do? The money's gone and my cards don't work. I didn't answer. Instead, I drove to the storage unit address sheet included in that first message. Using the access code she'd sent, I opened the unit and found 2 cardboard boxes, just a handful of clothes and my old laptop. That was it. No photos, no keepsakes, nothing from my dad. It was like she'd stripped me out of our life, scrubbed me from the record. And that's when something changed inside me. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about being erased. About someone deciding I didn't matter after 15 years of marriage. I stopped at a coffee shop nearby and opened my laptop. Using investigator-only databases, the kind most people never even know exist, I started digging into Roger Williams, the fitness guru Emily had been tagging all over Instagram. The better man, apparently. Didn't take long to confirm what I suspected. Roger's gym business was a house of cards. He was drowning in debt, 3 maxed-out business credit cards, a lease he could barely keep up with. And 2 months ago, Emily had co-signed a car loan for him. I closed the laptop and booked a hotel room. For the first time in what felt like years, I had complete clarity. No more confusion. No more anger. Just focus. Monday morning, I walked into my office like it was any other day. Sharon, my assistant, looked up from her desk, startled. "Richard? I thought you'd be taking some time off," she said. "Emily's called here 3 times already." "Has she?" I replied calmly. It wasn't a question. She said there was some kind of mix-up with your accounts. Sounded urgent. I nodded. "If she calls again, tell her to talk to my lawyer." By noon, Emily had traded phone calls for a face-to-face. The receptionist buzzed my office. "Your wife is here. She's insistent." I sighed, stood up, and walked to the lobby. There she was, Emily in full performance mode. Designer sunglasses pushed up on her head, matching yoga set, everything carefully curated. She smiled at me, the same smile she always used when she wanted something. "Richard, there's been a huge mistake at the bank," she said loudly, making sure everyone in earshot caught it. "All of our accounts are frozen." "Not a mistake," I said under my breath. "You moved money without permission. The bank flagged it as fraud." The smile wobbled for a second. "It was a joint account," she said, her voice a little higher now. "I'm your wife." "No," I said, locking eyes with her. "You're my soon-to-be ex-wife, who cleaned out our savings and announced she was leaving me for someone else. That's not a marital decision. That's financial misconduct." She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a venomous hiss. "You can't do this. I've already put down deposits on a new place. I've made commitments." "To Roger Williams?" Her face paled. "I know about those commitments." "You're investigating me?" "I'm protecting myself from fraud." Her expression hardened. "I'll fight you. I deserve half of everything." I kept my voice level. "You'll get half of what's in the joint accounts, sure. But if you think that's the full picture, you're in for a surprise." She blinked, caught off guard. "What does that mean?" "You'll find out in discovery," I said. Then I turned around and walked back to my office. That afternoon, I got an email from the attorney she'd hired, some hotshot probably recommended by a friend. The message demanded full access to all financial records and threatened to expose so-called irregularities in my accounting work if I didn't comply. It was laughable. A weak bluff. I forwarded it to my own attorney with a single line, "Proceed as planned." By evening, Emily had gone on the offensive. My phone was flooded with texts from mutual friends, accusing me of being cold, controlling, even vindictive. Funny how none of them asked where Emily had been all week, or what she'd done with the money. I didn't reply to a single message. Instead, I went to the community center gym, the same one I'd been going to for years. Not Emily's sleek studio. Not Roger's flashy brand-name fitness circus. Just iron, sweat, and silence. I lifted until my arms trembled, then headed back to the hotel. The trap was closing now, but not on me. 3 days later, my attorney called. Her voice had that tone, the one that meant she'd found something big. "We uncovered something interesting," she said. "Emily's been pulling money from your joint account for over a year. It started with small amounts, but got bigger over time." I already had a hunch. "Still," I asked, "where was the money going?" "Some to her personal savings," she said. "But most of it was funneled into a business account, an LLC under Roger Williams's name. Roughly $85,000 total. All sourced from joint funds." "So we're adding financial infidelity to the divorce?" "Yes." I thanked her and hung up. It wasn't shocking. Not really. But it still hit like a punch to the chest. Emily hadn't just left me. She'd been plotting her exit for over a year, using our money to bankroll a new life and her new man's failing business. Later that night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. You need to back off. Emily deserves better than you. Don't make this uglier than it needs to be. Just 7 words. But I knew exactly who had written them. Emily deserves better than you. Don't make this uglier than it needs to be. That text was signed by Roger Williams himself. So now he was getting directly involved. Bold move. The next morning, I headed over to my brother Peter's place. He works in digital security, knows his way around systems most people don't even realize exist. Over the years, we've teamed up on a few cases, usually for clients. But this time, it was personal. I need everything you can dig up on Williams Fitness LLC, I told him. Banking activity, loans, credit applications, the works. Peter raised an eyebrow. We're keeping it legal, right? Of course, I said. Just connecting the public dots a lot faster than your average person. 3 hours later, we had our answers. Roger wasn't just in debt. The guy was absolutely drowning. His online persona, luxury gear, polished gym, glowing skin was all smoke and mirrors. The reality? His business was collapsing under its own weight. All that shiny new equipment, the expansion he bragged about, the flashy promo events, built on a mountain of risky loans, and, more recently, Emily's money. But Peter found something even Emily likely didn't know. Take a look at this, Peter said, pointing at his screen. Roger applied for a business loan 4 months ago. Used his gym equipment as collateral. Pretty standard, I said. Sure, Peter nodded. But look at who co-signed. I leaned in. Emily's name was right there, alongside Roger's, on a $180,000 loan for equipment. She signed this before she left you, Peter said, his voice low. But here's the real kicker. The loan terms specified joint liability with her spouse. They used your marriage to secure a better deal. I stared at the document. Emily had put my financial credibility, my assets, on the line for him. Without my knowledge. Without my consent. Peter continued. It doesn't stop there. 3 credit cards. A leased car. A commercial space rental. All co-signed by Emily. All backed by marital assets. Your assets. I got up and walked to the window. Outside, some kids were running around in the neighbor's yard, laughing like the world made sense. I stood there for a moment, watching. She has no idea what she's done, I said quietly. And neither does he. The next morning, I sat down with my attorney and laid everything out. I want to move on this fast, I told her. Before they realize the hole they're standing in. She reviewed the folder, her expression unreadable. We'll file for emergency asset protection today, she said. That loan alone is enough to justify freezing everything until the divorce is finalized. That afternoon, I drove to Williams Fitness. The place looked like something out of a magazine. Slick branding, inspirational quotes on the walls, Roger's grinning face greeting visitors at the door. Inside, people in overpriced workout gear posed for selfies between half-hearted sets. Roger spotted me right away. He was taller than I expected, with a sprayed-in complexion and teeth so white they looked artificial. He walked over, hand outstretched, that fake friendly smile dialed in perfectly. You must be Richard, he said. Emily's mentioned you. I'm sure she has, I said, not shaking his hand. We need to talk. Privately. His grin twitched, but he led me to his office. It had glass walls, visible to everyone, but soundproof. He shut the door. So, what can I do for you? I placed a folder on his desk. This, I said, is every document connecting you and Emily. Loans, credit cards, leases, each one tied to my marital assets. He looked at the folder like it might bite him. I don't understand. It's simple. Emily used our marriage to back your business ventures. But now we're getting divorced. Which means those guarantees no longer hold. He flipped through the pages, color draining from his face. These are all legitimate agreements, he insisted. Between Emily and me. Maybe. But the lenders approved them based on our combined income and assets, resources she no longer has access to. He shut the folder slowly. What do you want? Nothing, I said. This isn't a threat. I just figured you should know what's coming. The banks will be calling those loans due. Soon. He tried to recover. Emily told me you were wealthy. This shouldn't even matter to you. Money's not the issue, I replied. Trust was. I started to leave, then paused at the door. One more thing. When Emily moved out, she took some things that mattered to me. Family photos. My dad's watch. Sentimental stuff. Not valuable, just irreplaceable. Roger looked at me for a long second. I'll see what I can do. The next day, a courier dropped off a box at my hotel. Inside were the missing items, photos, the watch, and a few other personal things. No note, just the box. That same afternoon, my attorney called with good news. The emergency protection order had gone through. Every shared asset was now locked down tight until the divorce was finalized. I logged into my financial dashboard and scanned the alerts. Emily had tried to access our frozen accounts 17 times in the last 24 hours. She also applied for a new credit line, trying to use the house as collateral. Denied. Right then, my phone lit up. It was her. I picked up this time. What the hell have you done? She snapped. Her voice was tight, shaking. The bank just called. Roger's loans, all of them, are being called in. They're seizing the equipment tomorrow. I didn't raise my voice. That's unfortunate. You're being vindictive, Richard. You're destroying him just to punish me. I'm not doing anything to him, I said, keeping my tone even. I'm protecting myself. From fraud. You used our marriage to guarantee his loans without my knowledge. That's not just wrong, it's illegal. Emily's tone shifted immediately. Softer. More careful. We can fix this, she said. Come home. Let's talk. 15 years of marriage, and she still thought a softened voice could pull my strings. Like I hadn't changed. Like I hadn't finally seen the truth. There's nothing left to fix, I said calmly. The divorce is moving forward. The fraud investigation will play out. And Roger? He's about to learn a hard lesson about skipping due diligence. I ended the call and blocked her number. That night, for the first time in months, I slept without waking up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering where things had gone wrong. 3 weeks later, I sat across a long conference table in a neutral-toned mediation room. Emily walked in with her attorney at her side. She looked polished as ever, designer clothes, flawless makeup, but there was something different in her eyes. Tired, frayed around the edges. Her lawyer opened the conversation. My client is willing to be reasonable regarding asset division, despite the unnecessarily aggressive stance taken thus far. My attorney didn't flinch. She just smiled and slid a document across the table. That's good to hear, she said, because something's come up. Emily's lawyer scanned the paper. His face went pale before he even reached the end. The bank has concluded its fraud investigation, my attorney explained. They've confirmed that Emily forged Richard's signature on multiple loan applications, using shared marital assets as collateral, without his knowledge or consent. We'll need time to review this, her lawyer muttered. Of course, my attorney said coolly. But just so you're aware, the bank has already turned this over to the district attorney. This mediation is a courtesy. Criminal charges are on the table. Emily turned to me, her eyes wide with disbelief. Criminal charges? Richard, you can't mean this. I looked at her without blinking. I didn't press charges. The bank did. That's what happens when you commit loan fraud. Her lawyer whispered something to her. She shook her head, visibly shaken. If Ms. McCarthy is willing to sign the proposed settlement today, my attorney continued, Richard is prepared to make a statement to the bank that could reduce the likelihood of prosecution. He also won't pursue separate charges for theft of personal property or the unauthorized withdrawal from the joint account. I watched the reality settle in behind Emily's eyes. She'd expected me to lash out, maybe break down, maybe try to win her back. But she hadn't expected this, actual consequences. The terms are fair, I said quietly. You keep the yoga studio. You keep your car and your personal effects. No alimony. And you take full responsibility for the debts you signed for under my name. She hesitated, then asked in a whisper, what about Roger? My husband's assets were the only thing propping up Mr. Williams's business, my attorney said. Now that they're gone, the bank has already started repossession proceedings. Emily didn't argue after that. She signed the papers. As we were leaving the room, she reached out and grabbed my arm. I never thought you'd fight back like this, she said. You used to go along with everything. I looked at her one last time. I used to. That was my choice. Just like all of this was yours. Then I walked away and didn't look back. A month later, I checked out of the hotel and moved into a modest little house not far from downtown Springfield. Nothing fancy, a worn-down craftsman with solid bones and a backyard that needed mowing. A place I could work on with my hands. Something that didn't pretend to be more than it was. Word got around. Emily had moved to Texas to start fresh. Her Instagram was full of mountain views and vague captions about new beginnings. Roger had sold the gym to a national chain and relocated to Las Vegas to grow his brand. Neither of them ever mentioned what actually happened. Funny how people never post about failure. One Saturday, my brother Peter came by to help install some new kitchen cabinets. "You heard anything from Emily?" he asked as we lined up a hinge. "No," I said, tightening a screw. "And I don't expect to." "You know," he said after a beat, "you could have taken her for everything. Those fraud charges alone." I just shrugged. What's the point? She's not my problem anymore. We worked in silence for a while after that, the kind of silence that's easy between brothers. Measuring, cutting, mounting. The rhythm of it cleared my mind. After a while, I spoke up. "I'm thinking of taking a couple weeks off. Maybe drive up to the cabin in Wisconsin. Do a little fishing." Peter nodded. "Dad would have liked that. You haven't been up there since he passed." That night, after Peter left, I sat out on the back porch with a glass of bourbon. The neighborhood was quiet, not the curated perfection Emily used to demand, just real, everyday sounds. A dog barking. A kid laughing 2 doors down. I thought about the last 15 years. About how I'd let someone else shape my life, define my worth. About how I'd seen the signs and chosen not to act until it was almost too late. But I'd been ready. Deep down, some part of me had always known this day would come. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel bitter, either. I just felt free. The next morning, I called the office and let them know I'd be gone for a couple weeks. No emergencies. No contact. I packed a bag, locked the front door behind me, and pointed the truck north. No destination. No timeline. No pressure. Just the open road, and for the first time in years, no invisible ledger to balance.